Hey guys, Internet Dude here. Today I have my 2003 F-150 King Ranch in the shop, and I'm going to change out the steering wheel. So I'm going to show you how to do it. This should generally apply to 97 to 03 F-150s. May also apply to newer and older vehicles and other models. Let's get started. Alright, so let's take a look at the existing steering wheel. The reason I'm replacing it, I'll show you in a sec here, but you can see it has the special King Ranch leather, some tan leather. But here's the main reason I'm replacing it. If you look closely, you see a lot of the leather's completely worn off, and the edge that's left is very hard and not comfortable. So what I have found is when I'm driving with two hands, no big deal, but if I'm driving with one hand, this tends to be where I rest my hand, and so I feel that all the time. So I purchased a new steering wheel. There's the part number for 97 to 03 King Ranches. Again, may fit other vehicles as well. And so here is the new steering wheel. It's nice that they have the leather all protected here and covered, but looks really nice. So I'm looking forward to this. Anyway, so the first step, and I'm following the actual Ford service manual information here. First step is to straighten out the steering wheel and turn the key off. When I've turned the key off and removed it. Step 2 is to disconnect the negative battery terminal, and then you need to let the battery sit, or the truck sit with the battery disconnected for at least 1 minute. Some people suggest all kinds of things. Let it sit for 30 minutes, let it sit overnight. The factory shop manual says 1 minute. So, let's see if I can get this. Really, I got another issue to deal with here with this corrosion. But what you can do is you can put the negative terminal out of the way, but I prefer to put a physical barrier in there so it can't reconnect itself. Alright, so after you've waited, the next step is to remove the airbag. And to do that, you go through these two, there's an access point here, a little cover, and an 8mm bolt, and then there's another one on the other side. So you just got to remove those. There. Alright, so I have the bolt out from back there, and now the airbag should just kind of pop out. Okay, so behind it there should be, there's a red connector here, and then there's another one down at the bottom. They might be a little tricky to get apart. There's one. There's the other one. Okay, when you take the airbag out, just set it down on the ground, making sure that the part that normally faces you in the vehicle is facing up. There's really basically no chance of it being triggered, but this just keeps you safe. Alright, so now the airbag's out of the way. We just want to take a look at this wiring. Oh, by the way, I put the key in and just turned the key to the first notch, just so the steering wheel didn't lock on us. But so we want to take a look and just make sure that the new steering wheel will match up correctly. The buttons match. We have that red connector. We have this, which is for the airbag, but it goes through a hole here. And then we have this extra connector here. If you can see this one, it goes down to here. So we'll remove that real quick. There. So the next step is to take a Torx T50 bit and try to break this free. I'm gonna have to probably use my knees here to kind of hold the steering wheel. There. Okay, so remove the bolt. the Ford manual says to discard this and buy a new one. So if you were simply removing the steering wheel to do some service and put it back, you'd want to make a mark, and I'll make a mark just to show you. So you need to mark the center silver part and the wheel itself, and I'll put another mark in another spot. So that's approximately 12 o'clock there, and almost 3. We'll see if this will come off. Okay, and it doesn't. So this is pretty common. It's going to be stuck on there pretty good. So what we need to do is get a puller tool to pull the steering wheel off of there. Alright, so these 2 wiring connectors, these are part of the steering wheel, so you don't really need to worry about them now, but for the pulling part you need to just be aware of this wire. You don't want to damage that one because you're not replacing that. So you can use a puller like this. You'd have to convert it to be a 2-jaw puller. This is a really heavy duty unit. I'm not going to use that. I bought this little 2-jaw puller just recently for this job, and I think it'll work good. We're going to find out. So hook it on a metal part of the steering wheel, top and bottom, and then the center part. Let's see here. It's kind of falling apart here a little bit. Okay, there. And so then we just turn it, and this should center itself in that hole. Oh, I see a problem. That doesn't go down far enough. Alright, so this one won't quite work, but I think I found a way around it. I'm going to put this into the hole, and then this will go down on there, so it'll give me the little bit of distance I need here. So just have to improvise, and we'll find out if that works. So I'll hook that back on. And then, so I'm just trying to thread this down. It's a little tricky to hold it and get you to see this. So let me get that down. There we go. Okay, so now I have one jaw on this metal part and one jaw on that metal part. You don't want to hook the jaws on the plastic. That would be bad, because the plastic thing back there is the clock spring. Okay, so it's a little crooked. I'm just going to straighten this out, and then I'll start cranking down on it a bit. There. So now I just crank this, and it's what it's doing is pulling the metal away. It should be pulling the steering wheel. Well, I think it's moving. Okay, well, I wasn't quite happy with how this other puller was working, so I switched out to the big jammer, and hopefully this will get the job done a little bit. Oh, there we go. Alright. There you go. Alright, so we got the old steering wheel out of the way. One thing I wanted to point out is the factory shop manual tells you to use a puller tool because you can damage the steering column bearings inside. So I visually compared the 2 steering wheels, and they do appear to be identical. So take this connector, put it through that hole. And then you probably can't make it out, but I can still see just a tiny bit of my black mark there, which shows me the 12 o'clock's position. And so I'm just going to get it as close as I can to 12 o'clock. looks like that'll probably be it. It is off a little bit, but I can't move it over enough to make it oh, actually that is pretty close. That's really close. I think it will be off a little bit because I can't line it up exactly. And actually, I probably should have showed you this. If you look at the knurling inside of here, hope you can see that. There's kind of a spot where there's no knurling at the top. And then on here, there's a spot with no knurling at the top, and then there's a spot on each side that's kind of flat. So realistically, this is only going to fit on one way anyway. So even though it may not be 100% perfect, that's how it's going to be. Alright, so we're ready to reinstall the steering wheel bolt. Make sure your harnesses are routed correctly. Now, the factory shop manual says to discard this bolt. So go buy a new one and install it. If for some reason you're going to reuse it, I don't know why you would, put some blue Loctite on it, thread locker, before you reinstall it, just to make sure. All right. Now this bolt gets tightened down to between 23 and 32 pound-feet. I set this for 28. So properly torque this to 28. Alright. So once the bolt is torqued down correctly, you need to plug in this small black flat connector, and the other two go directly on the airbag. So I'll plug this one in. Unfortunately, you probably won't be able to see at all, and you want to listen for that click. Alright. Alright, so the next step is to reinstall the airbag. Put those two fasteners back in the back with those caps covering it. I won't show you, it's pretty straightforward and just the reverse of what I just showed you. So just to be aware though, those two bolts that hold the airbag in, they get tightened down between 89 and 115 inch-pounds. Alright, so I torqued down all the bolts properly, put those covers back on, and I reconnected the battery. That terminal's a bit dirty, I'm going to have to do something about that. Alright. Turn the key on. Well, things seem okay, so what I'm going to do is take off this wrapping. Now, I would not recommend using a scissors or knife or anything to take this off, just use your hands. Ooh, that's much better. Actually, you can tell the rest of the leather's nice and soft too, you know, whereas the other leather was getting hard, not just around that spot, but in comparison. So I hope this video has helped you change out your steering wheel. If you have any questions or comments or other feedback, just leave a comment below, and please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.